Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw.
So this is about my trip to Canada.
Okay.
Telling me about.
Fantastic. Okay, so let me describe. Okay, so in the photo, were you the photographer?
Yes.
Okay, so it's basically shot head on into this old, slightly weathered fence post that's shoulder level. The shoulder that we're talking about is of this beautiful brown, it's such a like rich tones of brown of a horse. Probably about, let's say, I'm not good with hands, but let's say about 1.5 meters to its back, and then beautiful head with this lovely, normally I don't like bangs on humans, but this horse has beautiful bangs, very nice coif. The background, since you said, or there's been words of Canada, is this nice green and this nice grasses. There seems to be some kind of pond or a lake behind with a gravel road, and there's the coniferous forest of green. The time of year is hard to know. If it's definitely not winter, but it's probably spring or fall.
Fall. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, and you, what was the name of the horse?
So the horse was named Mary. Her
Mary.
name is Mary.
Okay. So why are we looking at Mary?
Well, we're looking at Mary because she taught me some very profound things. I love traveling. I think as most people do, but when I travel, I really want to understand connections, the origins of things, culture, how things are interlaced. And so I stayed at this amazing place. It was actually a ranch. And she was the lone horse there.
What? It was a ranch with one horse?
With one horse.
Hell of a ranch.
Exactly. Now, what happened is that the owner had agreed to kind of keep her basically until her current owner reclaimed her. So he wasn't really able to provide her. And she had just been separated from her foal. And they're a herd animal, right? So they like to be in groups.
Yeah.
And she'd just been separated from her foal. And I could just sense her loneliness and her grief. And I would go up there every morning and I would have some apples chopped and I'd feed her. And I wanted to know the background to her life. And that's the first time that I came in touch or was enlightened about what happens in the so-called horse world. And it just made me realize how little we know about, at least about the horse world.
Or other animal worlds.
Or other animal worlds,
yeah.
Exactly. Unless you're in nature and connected.
3 dogs.
I have 3 dogs,
okay.
exactly.
Keep going.
So she had been separated from her foal. And her pain and sadness was so palpable. You would see her in the distance looking away and actually looking for a foal. So I asked the lady who had hosted us, where we stayed at the Airbnb at the ranch. And she told me that basically that's the horse world. They get impregnated. They're made impregnated. As soon as they have their foal, they're taken away, if it's a male, to be sold for horse racing. And they'll keep doing that to her until she's of no more use.
Yeah.
And that would be the end of her. Right? And so that got me thinking, there we go again. It seems like our addictions or our entertainment or our joy in this world is based on so much of cruelty. Because, we turn up in fineries to go to these horse betting events. Where there's a jockey club. I don't want to give names, but, the world over.
Sure.
And it's a sport. We just don't understand, or we maybe just turn a blind eye to what we do to them. And it just so happened that every day when I would just set off to do my sightseeing, she would be the first and the last thing. And strangely, even at night when I would go to bed, she would be in my mind. I could just tell that she'd be roaming restlessly outside in the ranch by herself.
So you're doing these studies. You've done this work. You sit face to face with people. You're trained your whole evolution, your whole life. So you have your own trauma that you work through in order to kind of make sense of your own experience. And then you happen to be on this Airbnb and your mind has evolved into this state that you're able to read, empathize, connect with this horse, where there's this one lone horse who you connect with on a really emotional level. Despite what your conscious thoughts may be, you go sightsee, you come back, and there she is, you go lie in bed, and you're internalizing, processing, and how do you understand why you were so ready to empathize with Mary in such a deep way for her to actually change how you think?
Okay, so on several levels. First, that I'm a mother, right? And whether you're a dog mom, whether you're a human mom, I would think that those emotions of love and protection for your offspring would be universal, right? So on that level, that was the first level of connection.
Sure.
Right? The second level of connection would be, of course, the fact that I'm a trauma specialist. And very quickly, I would be able to zoom in on what's going on here. She's by herself. She's helpless.
Exactly.
She's helpless. And she's grieving. And I work with grief. And the third level, which is the understanding that this is a lesson for me to further educate myself. I've gone from being vegetarian to being vegan, then not possessing goods made of leather. It's just about, what do I really need?
Right.
What can I give to this planet? What do I need from this earth? What I don't need. Your happiness doesn't come in the form of luxuries and material things. Your happiness comes in being in harmony with the earth and nature. And nature can be very cruel. And just because nature is cruel, does it mean that then I justify partaking from nature because nature means the stronger eat the weaker?
Right.
It doesn't resonate with me, because then that would mean that a person who has been subject to violent trauma, because it's so-called viewed as a weaker person by the perpetrator, it's justified.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't make sense.
Exactly. Well,
right?
if anything, I love that quote of I think it's Bernard Henry Levy, is that the key to, I'm paraphrasing, but the key to civilization that's falling apart is not less civilization, it's better civilization or more civilization. So in the sense that, granted, say 300 years ago where life was a lot more brutal, these things could go. But today, precisely because we have such sophisticated societies, we can look at these situations and then question them and then wonder, well, are we going to participate in that? So
exactly. So, there's this common argument, well, our ancestors ate meat, and so this is the right way to eat it.
Right.
Our ancestors had gladiator kind of in the ring. They had, all of these, burning at the stake and whatever that history tells us.
Sure.
Does that justify doing it?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, especially at this point, when humanity has really, this human culture has evolved so much that, like, the world is amazing, and we're able to interact with others, let's just say on a different from a different model, a different perspective, from the angle of compassion. and forgiveness and connection and strength. So, but strength not being exercised on others, but in a way, like, forgiving is a show of strength.
It is. It is one of the highest forms of strength and love.
So as somebody who's been around animals a lot, and I understand our interaction with animals, we understand, like, most people that I meet just assume that the world of humanity is the highest form of intellectual expression. For some people who don't know dogs, they'll just add a dog's a dog, it's all the same. But each dog has a very different personality, shaped by experience. You spent, I don't know how many days there, you connected with this horse on this level. And this horse, in a way, is the victim of a system of just really using her as a baby-making machine, just pumping them out.
So is a cow, so is beef, so is, or pork, or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Any animal. Yeah.
Any animal, right.
So what somebody is listening to this, and we want to specifically inspire them somehow with a new thought. I think already entertaining the idea that this connecting with this horse as having lived through trauma. So as a professional, how would you explain or articulate some kind of truth to this person to kind of understand, oh, wait a second, for them to do an internal sort of
reflection.
Yeah, right. Reflection, yeah.
So similarly, I didn't know that this is what goes on in the horse world. Right?
Okay.
So I think it's about awareness. I think it's about the veil of ignorance being lifted. I think it's about connecting with them. That connection is probably going to be the inroads to seeing how we are interlaced with all sentient beings in our universe. A lot of the meat that comes, you never see how it's slaughtered.
Right.
And there was an experiment done, I don't remember exactly this, but they took some children to the meat farms, and it's like every child came out saying, I'm not touching it.
Right, exactly. Right?
The other thing is also why is it that in meditation we prescribe vegetarianism? Again, vegetarianism doesn't mean that there's no cruelty. Again, there's a lot there that I can talk about, but I'll come to that later. But the point that I'm making here is when we are disconnected with whatever it is that we are partaking from or doing. For example, when you eat, when you don't eat mindfully, half the time you're eating mechanically, and you don't really savor every single ingredient, and you're not with that experience 100% in that moment. Your mind will be racing with some thought that you had about something you experienced earlier, and you're eating basically with emotions, right? And I think a lot of this is because partly culture, partly upbringing. My parents brought me up to drink milk. I had no idea the level of cruelty that is inflicted upon cows that give birth to their calves. So in a way, people, the idea that our parents may have passed on something to us that could possibly not be the best or the optimal thing for nature is a difficult one for people to handle, right? But if you go beyond that and understand our parents are not perfect. Our parents are also, they've embodied a certain culture, wisdom, prejudices, and we have inherited that. But individuation is about feeling gratitude and love for what they did and they could do for us.
Yeah.
And then using our own form of inquiry to embrace maybe the current realities. In their times, I don't think there was really animal farming the way it is today.
No.
That animal was hunted, maybe it had a life, it had its offspring around it, it could see the skies. So it is a very different context today than what our parents had, right? So for us, it's about awareness, spiritual awareness, growth, connection with nature, making certain choices which are contextually relevant. So that is what I would tell the person, that this is about your own, who you want to be, who do you want to grow into, what do you want to do for yourself and for this earth and for others. And it's not about judging people who eat meat. It's not about saying that because you eat meat, you're not a good person. Nothing to do with that. We all, the definition of love is letting others voluntarily evolve.
Okay.
Everybody is at their own different phase of so-called spiritual growth or evolvement.
Sure. For
the person who loves meat but can even have one day that is meatless, he's on that journey.
Sure.
For a person who says, okay, I need to eat meat, but I'm going to have grass-fed, at least you know that animals have had a chance to eat something that's more nutritious. For a person who's vegetarian, then, to understand that, okay, even though I'm vegetarian but I wear silk, it's quite brutal how silk is made. You just you just boil those cocoons alive, right? Yeah. So for me, this process is more about spirituality. It's not about condemning anybody or judging anybody. It's where we want to go with this life. And the older I grow, the more simple I kind of want to make these choices that I make with my food, with my hobbies, with whatever I do. I think it's been so fulfilling. The less of material wants and needs you have, the more happier you become.
A fantastic sentence, truly. So is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.